I'll start by saying, looking at your career, it's really a standout to me in that you cover so much terrain and so many genres of entertainment. It's hard to categorize you as one specific type of performer. You obviously are known for your work on Broadway in Bubble and Brown Sugar, and you're an award-winning performer in that area of the entertainment industry. But you also have accomplished quite a lot in the areas of film, screen, records, nightclubs, and more recently with coaching and photography. So I was curious, growing up, did you plan on a career in entertainment from an early age?
Yes. My mother and father told me that, and I remember this, that I was making melodious tones, so to speak. These are their words.
That's a nice phrase.
At the age of 3. And so my mother said, she said to my dad, I think our daughter's going to be a singer. So at age 6, I do remember going to see this lady by the name of Romaine Russell at the Pittsburgh Musical Institute, which doesn't exist anymore, but it was pretty big stuff back then.
Yeah.
And they took me to her to see what she thought about my voice. And she said that she would like to teach me, but for them to bring me back in 2 years because I was a little bit too young. So in 2 years, when I turned 8, that's when I went back to her, and she became my voice teacher.
Okay. So would you say first and foremost that to this day you identify yourself as a vocalist?
As my first thing?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because I was born a classical singer. I mean, that was my thing. I had no intention at this time, because I was so young, I didn't know what my intentions were, but as I started to get older, we were really thinking that I was going to be the next Leontine Price. That's where my sights were,
Mm-hmm.
And
so was she someone whose work you listened to a lot, even as a young girl?
Well, yeah, because I had heard of her, and I had her records, and she was just a great opera singer, and she was someone I was aspiring to, and along with, there were others, like I loved Roberta Peters, Grace Bumbry, so there were several, but certainly I think Leontine was at the top of the list.
Did you get a chance to see her live ever?
No, never. I did see Marian Anderson live, but I was very young when I saw her. She was at the Civics Arena in Pittsburgh, and I was like real little. I mean, real little.
So your parents, I assume, were very into the classical realm themselves. It sounds like they.
Not necessarily.
No.
Not necessarily. My father was a singer, and but he had never studied. But he would sing around at a lot of the churches in Pittsburgh, and they were very familiar with him, and he was very much in demand. My mother could not sing at all.
Okay.
But she was a fabulous seamstress and hairstylist, so she taught me how to sew, and to this day, I can really, really sew thanks to her. But no, it was my father who was the singer in the family, but not on a professional level. So when they discovered I could sing, that's when they put all of them, the extra money that they had into my training. And at that particular time, dance and none of that was thought of. It was strictly singing.
Yeah, it wasn't the popular music vein way of thinking. Now, it's interesting that you mentioned the Pittsburgh Musical Institute, because I was just reading over the Jet article from when you did Bubbling Brown Sugar and you were on the cover of Jet magazine, and I thought it was kind of cute the way that they phrased it in there. They said about you, Pittsburgh born and bred, she was marched off to the city's musical institute at age 8 for classical voice training. So it made it sound like almost like you were just like forced to go into it, but clearly.
Oh no, I definitely was not forced to go into it, because I think by the age of 8, I had already done like 2. What did they used to call those little weddings? Tom thumb weddings,
Oh,
or
I've
these
heard of
little
that.
fake.
I don't know exactly what that is, but yeah.
Yeah, it's like fake weddings, you know.
Okay.
Little kids would put them on, and I would be the solo. So I knew already that I was a singer,
Okay.
and I enjoyed it. It was my passion even before I started studying. Once I
Okay.
realized what I had, and so no, I was never forced to go into music at all. In fact, when I started, my teacher said that it was very important for me to practice every day, vocalize every day, and you know the whole thing. And it was an average of, I would say, an hour and a half to 2 hours a day that I would vocalize, and sometimes in the evening as well. And this went on every day. And my mother wasn't making me do that. In fact, I drove my brother and my sister crazy. You know, because they were listening to the popular music, and I was,
Now, your siblings, are they younger than you, or are they
No,
older
my brother is
siblings?
older, and my sister was younger. She passed away a few years ago from ovarian cancer.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry to hear that. That's tough.
Oh, thank you.
Well, now, so with that progression, when you started studying with Romaine Russell, what did you discover about your voice through studying with her? I assume it was for a considerable period of time that you worked with her.
Well, yeah, it was for 5 years, and by the time I was 13, it was 5, let's see, 5, 8, yeah, it was about, I would say about 6 or 7 years, and if I have that correct. And I gave my first concert, which was with my father, at age 13, and at age 13, I was singing in, I think it was either 2 or 3 languages, French, Italian, and German, or it might have been 2 languages, French and Italian.
Okay.
Mhm.
And did you have any favorite pieces that you liked to sing at that time?
Well, this always astonishes people, but at age 13, I was singing Musetta's waltz song from La Bohème. I was singing Disidarte from Tosca, and Un Bel Dì. I can't remember these songs, you know, it's too long ago. I'm a butterfly. And these were huge arias, huge. Your voice had to be big to sing these arias because these were all dramatic arias. And at the same time, I was singing very light stuff that maybe songs that maybe a coloratura would sing. So I had an unusual voice. And an unusually wide range.
Okay, I was going to ask you, were you considered primarily like one thing, like an alto or a soprano? Or
I was considered a dramatic soprano.
Okay.
But I had an unusual range, and I could lighten my voice and do things with it. And
you know, it's interesting that you say that because one of the things that's always stood out to me about your voice is that it's kind of a really distinctive combination of powerful soul with the elegant operatic quality that you're speaking of. And and a lot of times on your records that I've listened to and admired so much, you do utilize the, I don't know, for lack of a better word, the gutsy approach, or the belting and the real, that kind of style. But when you mentioned that lighter style, I was listening earlier today to one of my favorites of yours where you were using that lighter type of voice, and that was Missing You.
Missing You, yes.
Yeah, so you can tell through the work that you've done through the years that sort of early training and doing all those different tones and, you know, styles really has helped you a lot.
Well, you know, I think the funny thing is, someone said, well, actually it's been said quite a few times, that you could take a lot of my records, listen to a lot of the TV shows, close your eyes, and a lot of times you don't know if you're listening to the same singer.
Right, I agree with
Especially when you listen to the recordings, and you could even compare those and not think that you're listening to the same singer. But when you compare some of the recordings to my theatrical sound, it's like night and day.
Oh, right, yeah, different worlds.
Yes, it's totally different worlds. So I think I was always able to do that, but making the change did not come easy, though. That was difficult.
So, like going into that soft...
Yeah, I mean, because I just didn't want to be a singer who a classical singer who sounded like she was trying to sing pop or trying to sing R&B. So it was difficult. I basically went for the jugular vein, meaning